In this video, we're going to do a deeper dive into interior telling or interiority in our telling of our story. If you haven't already seen them, I have 2 videos that precede this video. As writers, we have these 3 forms of telling that we can use in order to illustrate our story, in order to tell our story, in order to bring the reader along in our story. Name telling and show telling are external writing, and interior telling is internal writing, and we need all 3. We just need to know exactly when to use which one that suits our writing style. What I thought I would do today with this interior telling is take you through an example that I have lifted out of somebody's manuscript. Now, I'm doing this with permission, and all I've taken out is one sentence that they've written in their manuscript, as well as one event that they described that I'm going to remove out of the manuscript to use to illustrate my point. And this is the sentence: "I was angry that he bullied my brother." Here we have a sentence of naming his emotion, naming how he felt about something. He was angry, naming the emotion about the bullying of his brother. So how can we take that and actually show it? With show telling, without actually naming the anger, we can show tell the experience, and that also has a much more visual role for the reader. So this is a story where there's bullying, and now there's this fight between the bully and the narrator who is defending his brother. So this is what it could look like. "I kicked his feet out from under him, and even before his head hit the ground, I pounced on him, pinning his arms with my knees, and rained down angry blows." There we have an example of show telling. Show telling actually the fight, show telling the anger, show telling how this narrator has defended his brother against a bully. And that is essentially the difference between name telling and show telling. But now what if we take that piece and we actually go into interior telling? How much richer and stronger will the piece be if in this pivotal moment we actually do interior telling? And interior telling, as I've shown in my previous videos, is when we go into the narrator's head. And in those previous videos, I've separated the narrator's head from the action and the experience of the event. So the event has happened, then we go into the narrator's head, we get to know more about what the narrator's thinking, and then we go back to the event. But here in developing our writing and going deeper in our writing, we can actually blend the two. We can blend an action, we can blend an event and create some scene-driven writing, and at the same time go into the narrator's head. This is a more developed craft, but it is one you can consider when writing your memoir. So this piece I have written, and this is what it reads. "There was satisfaction in the thud of his head hitting the ground. The element of surprise had always been my friend in these street fights. The quick swoop of a soccer kick to the feet delivered the goods for me every time. But the greater satisfaction came when I had pounced and rendered the bully defenseless, pinning his arms with my knees and rained down blows. One for every insult, every spit in my face, every unwarranted taunt. I paid them back in kind on his bloodied face." That piece, for me, when I had finished writing it and I looked back at it and read it, struck me that not only was there anger coming out on this page, but because of how he actually felt as he was beating up this other kid, showed me not only anger, but there was rage in this piece. There was rage for how he had been bullied, how his brother, his cousin had been bullied. And in all this bullying, this fist fight now was actually an expression, a release of this. And that's what interiority does for us. It takes a piece of writing, makes it richer, makes it deeper, makes it more poignant, more violent, more interpretive because we get to see why the narrator feels so angry about this situation, so how he feels about all the bullying that has been building up. It illustrates for us that he's actually perhaps even a little bit of a street fighter. It's not the first time he's been in a fight. And what is it about this piece that can now actually go forward in the memoir that will make it richer and stronger? And it could be that even as a child, in learning to fight battles, in learning to stand up for the underdog, this now becomes a theme that continues through the story. And there are other moments where the narrator now starts to pursue a life, a vocation that stands up for the underdog, and it's rooted in this event and how it played out in his life. And we can use interiority to make the piece deeper, to make it stronger, and to build this thread that continues through the story. Now, does that mean we should always aim for interiority? Should we always do this type of richer writing? It depends on your style, but know this, they're all tools and they're all there to be used. It's up to you to know when you want to use each one. A well-balanced piece will have all three. They really will. It will be too much if it's all interiority or if it's all scene-driven writing. And it's certainly going to be dull and monotonous if it's name-telling. I think what's really important for us as writers is to have the confidence to know we have these options. And it really is up to us to know when and how we want to use them. There really isn't any right or wrong. It comes down to style. It comes down to maturing as writers. It comes down to knowing we can actually do this. So one thing I want to leave you with this video, and don't forget to watch the previous two if you haven't, is to let you know that part of that means you can sometimes name tell. You can name tell an emotion. You don't have to always, because you're now dealing with emotions, going to show telling. There is a place for name telling. And I'm going to give you a quick example from my own book. My whole book is unpacking my relationship with my father and my mother as I process my grief. And in the story, I have a sequence which I'm not going to tell you about because it's in the book. If you're wanting to read it, it's in my book. I have got a link below if you're wanting my book. But it's a very poignant story, a very heartrending story as a young girl when I'm at home with regard to my father. And in this story, I do scene-driven writing. And so I had a picture I needed to hand in for a school project, but now it didn't exist. And you'd have to read my book to know why. But in the story, I've done the show telling, I've done the scene-driven writing, and then I write this piece, which is name telling. And I say, the next day, instead of my picture, I took a note to school for my teacher. I handed it to her, and I felt my shame. I name my emotion. I felt my shame. I don't show my emotion. I don't describe what I might have looked like in scene-driven writing for my emotion of shame. I name it. And why did I choose as the writer to actually name my emotion at that time, when so often we've spoken about don't do that. Use scene-driven writing. I named my emotion because I had already done scene-driven writing. And I felt that now just to name my emotion, to just put it plainly on the page, that simply, just to name it, was actually very powerful. To now do scene-driven writing would actually undermine it. My reader has already gone through the experience with me. Now I name it. It's that period, that moment of poignancy that the reader will get. I don't need to spell it out to them, and we move on in the story. So this all becomes technique, this all becomes style as to how we use things. If you'd like to receive my 7 key ingredients to writing a great memoir, then please do click on the link below and you will receive it in your inbox. I'll see you in the next video.